Welcome to something short and sweet in the Parsha. This week, Parshas Matos-Masai. I want to begin with an astute point made by a social commentator who often asks his crowd the following question. If you had in front of you your dog and a human being who is drowning, who would you save? Now, for you and for me, that's not much of a question, or at least we don't think it is. But let's consider it. Many years ago, I heard a great story in a lecture of Rabbi Friend. We told of a fellow who worked for a Fortune 500 company. Back in the day, a person went to work for one of those companies. He was loyal, and they took care of him. And he dedicated his life to that company. This fellow, however, after many years, received a phone call in his office where he was told, you have 10 minutes to pack your bags, take everything that's yours, leave whatever is the company's behind. He didn't know what to make of it. He couldn't believe his ears. The company was his life. He quickly packed his bags. And before he can even get to the exit, somebody came for him to escort him out of the company. He gets to the front door and security tells him, open your bags. He says, open my bags? Why should I do that? He says, we just want to make sure that you're not leaving with anything owned by the company. The fellow, after realizing that he devoted his life, his hours, his weekends, the time that he could have been spending with his family, with his wife, with his children, he devoted it all to the company. He flew into a rage and he ripped open his shirt and he says, here, my heart belongs to the company. Take it. This week's Parsha, we have Bnei Gad and Bnei Reuven, the two tribes who wanted to stay Ever HaYarden. They had great amount of cattle. They come to Moshe Rabbeinu and they say, this side of the Jordan, this is for us. Let's stay here. We want to stay here. Moshe Rabbeinu gets very upset at them. And he says, you're tarbus anoshim chatoim. You're sinners. You're continuing the sin of the spies. You're going to destroy the morale of the people. And they respond. They say, we're not like the spies. We want to go into Eretz Israel and we will fight out front and we will make sure Klal Yisrael is settled. But just before that, they say, Gidroson nivna l'meknenu po va'orim l'tapenu. Before we go in and fight, and we're going to help the cause, but beforehand, we're going to build corrals for our sheep and cities for our children. Moshe Rabbeinu couldn't believe what he was hearing. Because chasim, as Rashi explains, chasim hoyu al mamonim yosem ibnei noseim. They put their flocks, the welfare of their flocks, they put that before the welfare of their children. Amar lehem Moshe. So their leader Moshe Rabbeinu said to them, Lo kain. What kind of attitude is that? Asuha ikr, va'tafel tafel. Make that which is primary, primary. Are you guys kidding? Your children are what is significant. Or your children is what you have to take care of. What's secondary? Let it be secondary. You're going to build first cities for your children. The achariken gidros sonon, or tsonachem. And afterwards, you can build places for your cattle to live. What happened to these people? Were they no goodniks? Absolutely not. These were the Yotzei Mitzrayim. They came out of Egypt, and these are the people that were worthy of going into Eretz Israel. What happened to them? It makes sense that they started out like anyone else. They started out working. They started shepherding their flock, taking care of their farm, going to their Fortune 500 companies, so to speak, for the sake of earning a livelihood, of providing for their wives, providing for their children. And somewhere along the way, they got a bit lost. And that which was tafel, that which was secondary, became primary, to the point that the Medrash says they even found their flocks as more precious than their children. That's the way they felt about it. And that's the way they expressed it. It happens to the best of human beings. So whereas you and I, we would not answer that question, that we would save our dog over their children. But when we put years of effort into our work, and sometimes we sacrifice time with our children, that's what happens. And the tafel becomes ikr, and the ikr becomes tafel. Of course, human beings are more important. Of course, our children are more important. But as we go out into the world and do what we need to do, we need to make sure that we retain the proper place of our sense of what is ikr, what is essential, what is critical, what do we live for, what do we strive for, and that which is only the means by which we attain that which we live for. Thank you so much for listening. Have a good Shabbos.